Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. It's Federico here. Today I want to talk with you about the include preprocessor statement. So this is include, which allows us to include some external code inside our shaders. So let me show you how this works. So as you can see here, I have a little scene with just a JIT world to render, GGL grid shape, a pass for the gamma effect, which basically just makes the color correct for our screen, and then a camera to go around, to move this, basically to move around this object, which is just a sphere for the moment. And so let's create a GGL shader object. So the GGL shader object will contain a shader that we can then apply to, for example, the GGL grid shape object. And this will define how the shape looks like. So how its vertices looks like and how its color looks like, how its pixels, the pixels that compose the shape look like. So let's give it a file attribute and call it like my shader.jxs. JXS is the file type of Max for shaders. And double clicking on it will just give us the default shader because the file my shader.jxs doesn't exist. So let's do this. Let's save this VS Code text file inside the same folder where I have this patcher, include shader tooth. And I will call it my shader.jxs. So in the same folder, this means this will now be found by this shader object. And when I double click on it, we'll actually open this file on Xcode. Cool. So we now need some basic shader to start from. And we can simply take the one from the shape that already has a shader attached, because if we have in the preferences the GL Core engine chosen, which is by default, this uses the more modern OpenGL API, which means each object has a shader automatically attached, which defines how the object looks like. So we can actually get this shader and start from that as a starting point to modify the appearance of our shapes with shaders. So it works like this. We say get GL3 shader, send it to GGL grid shape, and it gives us this shader. Now I just copy paste it here. The language we want to use is glsl. This is a pretty long shader, mostly because of the lighting calculation. So that's a perfect use case for the include preprocessor statement, because we have a lot of code here that always looks the same. So it could be actually abstracted into another file that we can then include in this file. So this file will look much cleaner, and all these kind of utilities functions like calculation spotlight and so on, we can move them all inside this include file, which will make then our main file much cleaner and easy to read. Before we do that, let's actually look at the Max documentation, the reference, and this is the page for GGL shader. And there is a part about the include preprocessor statement. Shader programs can include external sources via the JXS include tag. This is kind of the old way of doing it. Additionally, as of Max 9.1, external source code can be inline directly via the include directive. So we can simply say whatever we want. So we can do this, for example, after we define the version, which must be the first thing inside a shader, must be the version preprocessor statement, we can say include, and then we can insert a path for that file. And we could call it like vertex shader, because this is part of the vertex shader light calc, or something like that, and we can just give it whatever extension we want. We will just call it glsl, which is kind of the standard file extension to give it, because this is a glsl shader. But we could call it like whatever. Literally call it whatever. I would just need to call the file in the same way. So let's save that, and then let's create a new file here inside Visual Studio Code. Vertex shader light calc.glsl. And then I'm going to just cut all this stuff from there. Now, this is an automatically generated shader, which means if we will have multiple lights in this scene, this shader will regenerate itself in the shape, and this will add, for example, multiple lights. But since we now copied it and pasted it inside here, when you're using it inside a GGL shader, this is now hard-coded. So if we will add more lights to the scene, we will still just see the result of one light, because the shader is hard-coded now. So we will need to manually change this number. But doesn't matter. For the sake of this example, we just care about abstracting these inside another file with the include statement. So I'm just going to get all this stuff until here, until the light parameters, until here, before the uniform, because the uniform it's not really part of the lighting calculation. And then I'm also going to get all the library functions for that. Everything up to the main function. I'm just going to pass them below all the definitions here. Going to save, and let's see, probably we are getting some errors. Before we get some errors, we actually need to assign this shader to the shape, because at the moment it's still using the default shaders. So let's say shader, and let's call it my shader, and let's give it a name to this shader object. So the file name is the name of the file, and then the name is the name of the actual GGL shader object, which is needed for the grid shape to reference that shader. So let's call it my shader. We could call it whatever we want. And we can see that we are getting oh, it's working. It's actually working. It's just, I guess, just reversed. So let's try to remove this shader from the shape by simply saying a shader known, which is a not existing shader, right? And if we say shader my shader, seems it's inverting the normals, which is yeah, it's kind of strange, but doesn't really matter. The shader is working. So we successfully abstracted the lighting calculations from the shader using the include preprocessor statement. Let me actually comment that. Abstract light calculations and definitions in an external file. Right. So that's how the include statement, preprocessor statement works. It's very good if you have very complex shaders, or if you have a bunch of functions that you use all the time and that you want to include in all your shaders. Then you can just include this file. This file could be everywhere. You could just be in the max search path, so you will not need to set absolute path, but you can also set an absolute path like desktop. And if this file will be on the desktop, then you will do something like that. Cool. Let me actually just try to reverse the normals to see if reversing the normal changes the shader. Yeah, right. So it's basically reversing the normals. If we reverse the normal, then it looks like the standard shader. But yeah, doesn't really matter as long as you're okay with the light being in the wrong place. Oh, and I guess the normals are already inverted here, which is what is reversing them in the default shaders. I'm not sure why it's that. Drawing back face is reverse normals. Okay, so if we just want it to look like the default shader, we can just comment out this line. Just for fun, let's create another file and let's save it inside the same folder and call it fragment cool functions.glsl. And we are going to include this file in the fragment shader now. So include fragment cool functions.glsl. We don't really need to put it inside quotes if it doesn't have space in the name, but I like quotes. So there we go. And now we got an error because invalid directive include. Maybe because this file is empty, so let's try to write something and let's create a function that will return a vec4. We'll use that to change the color of our shape. So let's say that we'll call it chessboard pattern. And we need some input coordinates, so we can say input vec2 coords. This will be, we can use like texture coordinates for that. And then we will return something. So return, I don't know, I'm just going to, for the moment, write something inside just to see if this takes the error away. And it seems this takes the error away. So Max is happy, we are happy. And what we can do is then define some function to like return some grid pattern. So let's create a float. I'm just improvising here a function just for sake of the example. So let's say that we want cards.x module 0.1, for example. Sorry, let's say float x value. This is card.x module 0.1. And this will give us number that go between 0 and 0.1 for the x card. And then let's say this greater than 0.05 or something. And then let's do basically the same for the y. So we could have we just could have done this with a vec2, but yeah, it's kind of clearer, I guess. And then let's say the final color is going to be xval multiplied by yval. And here, let's say that the color is then, we can do like this, chessboard pattern. And we need the texture coordinates, which we are not passing from the shader. So we need to add these as input uniform. Param name text card, type is vec2, state is going to be text card, and then we need to pass that, we need to bind that to the fragment shader. Our fragment shader is called FP, yeah, name FP, and there we go. So now we can say inside the ear, no, sorry, we need to bind that to the VP because then it's going to be interpolated from the vertex shader to the fragment shader. So in the JIT out structure here, and first we need to actually declare this as an input uniform. This is not a uniform actually, it's an attribute, a vertex attribute. So each vertex has a different value. And this is text card. And then we're going to say text card here. Flat, it means that this doesn't get interpolated if we don't put anything before the variable type, it will be interpolated. So we can then here say JIT out.textCard equal textCard, our input attribute that we set here. Cool. So now we need to define here as well in the input. In the input structure here that this is vec2 text card, and then we can feed that to our chessboard pattern like this. And of course there is a problem. Not well formed. Okay, so I messed up with JXS binding here. Bind param, oh, and it misses equal. That was the problem. And then we're also getting another error, which is that the module doesn't really work on float numbers. So let's go back here. And I think we need to use the modulo function. So it's called mod. This will work on float numbers, I believe. So cars.y mod cars.y 0.1. And let's see if this now works. Oh, and of course, we're getting an error. These are incompatible types because this variable is declared as a float, but the greater than operator will return a boolean. So what we need to do is to cast that to a float. I'm not sure at all this is the best way of doing that. Probably is wasting some GPU power, but we got it. Our doesn't really look like a chessboard, does it? I don't care. This is great. So that's how we use the include preprocessor statement, and we also refreshed a bit of shader syntax. how to write your own shaders. So yeah, we are stopping here. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how we can use the Lija package, which is something new to Max 9.1. And I'm going to show it how we can use the include statement to include a lot of very cool functions from the Lija package and make awesome shaders with that. So, hope this was clear, hope this was interesting. If you have questions, post them in the comments if you want to get this patcher. And all the patches I've created in the past 10 years, you can join my Patreon. You will have access to all of them, depending on your tier that you choose. But basically, yeah, you will have access to tons of patches, more than you can possibly digest in a couple of months. You will also support the channel, which is great, allows me to make more videos. And you can also join my Discord channel, where I'm there basically all the time, interacting with Maxers, asking me questions. We just chat about stuff, chat about Max. Yeah, I guess that's it. I will see you in the next video. Have fun and take care. Ciao.